Hello, and welcome to Big Bang Radio Spotlights. This is a show where we talk to independent artists from all around the world, all about their music and the process for making it. I'm your host, Nouran, and today I got to talk to Adam Elk from the alternative band The Mommyheads. Without any further ado, here's the interview. Adam, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. So the first thing I normally ask for every interview is, how would you describe your sound to someone who may have never heard your music before?
I would say it's at its core, it's pop music, whatever that means. I think it's melodic music. Um, it's a little bit of a throwback to the 60s and 70s. It could be funky, it could be progressive. It kind of runs a lot of styles, but it's definitely sonically rooted in the 70s for sure, in the early 80s, kind of our roots. And I would also say for what we do, we're probably one of the last bands standing since the 80s that still do it. So yeah, there used to be more of us.
So, about your band. So your band name is called the Mommyheads. Could you tell us whose idea was to call you guys the Mommyheads?
It was my idea. It's a terrible name. Um, we had a gig at CBGB's, the famous punk rock club, and it was like our first show. And I couldn't think of a name, and the booker was like, "You need a name. I'm sorry, I can't book you without a name." And I think I was in the kitchen of my mom's house and looked at her and just thought, "How about Mommyheads?" I will say this, it's so bad that all the domains are available. It's not cool enough for anyone to want to buy the domain and sell it back to me at a high price. So we got lucky on that front that it's so bad.
What did your band member think about when you came up with the name?
It was so early and we were so young that no one thought anything. We were all 17. So I guess that's the problem with not thinking about stuff too much. You get stuck with it for a while. You got to watch out what you do at that age if you're going to stick with it.
So, you and your band, you guys started in the 1987, and then you guys broke up around the 90s, and then you guys reformed a decade later, like 2008. Could you tell us what are the things that have changed for the Mommyheads when it comes to recording and distributing music?
Everything's changed. When we started, it was all about playing live and kind of kicking butt on the stage and winning people over one by one in the live venue. And now it's all, I think, more recording and digital, especially with the pandemic. But even before the pandemic, playing live was not as effortless as it used to be in the 80s and 90s. Like, you just would call a club and they'd book you and you'd play. And now there's so many analytics. And it was like, how many... you say you can draw this much, but we're looking for this much. There was a lot of politics about playing live. And now, and also back then, making a record was so hard. It was so expensive. It was so out of your price range to make a record. So very few records were made. And now everyone can make a record, which is great. Back then, if you did make a record, it was because someone invested in you. And you were kind of the stamp of approval, and everyone would listen to it because they had to give it a chance because it was so hard to make a record. Now, are you sure, do I have to listen to one more record from another band? So, everything's a lot different, but I do enjoy recording now more because we have more control and there's more goodies and things to play with.
Also technology has changed a lot over the years. And generation too, so it's quite different than in the past and now. So
I think technology is amazing, but it also could be it could also get you in trouble. It's very easy to get carried away and make there's a point where your sound gets worse. And if you cross it and you lose focus and you overkill and overproduce, and if you cross that point, it's very easy to cross it. And when you do, it's hard to come back if you don't have perspective. So that's why another reason to be in a band, you have guys going, hey man, that's bad. Pull it back, you know. We liked it better a month ago.
Well, you and your band currently released a new album called The New Kings of Pop. Could you tell us about the process for this album, how long it took you guys to create it, and who thought of the name for the album?
I have a song called New Kings of Pop, which is basically about a dad in the suburbs who's like 40 to 50 years old in a minivan with a kid and a sippy cup, who has the potential to be the next, I mean, talent-wise, could be the next Prince or Michael Jackson or whoever is passing the baton and you know, pop music, just that much talent. And I've known some guys like that, but they made a life decision that was different than that. And the title is basically just us being coy, and it's just, we're basically those guys, not going to take over Michael Jackson's throne, but you know, we're more than we appear in the suburbs. And there's a lot of us. There's a lot of people in the suburbs that just put all this stuff aside and raise kids and, you know, have marriages and mortgages, but in reality, are just as good as anyone that's out there or better. And this is almost an album that sort of puts a microscope under that concept.
Did you and your band life face any obstacles when creating this song or album?
Yeah, you know, every record's an obstacle, and every record's a joyous occasion. You know, getting together's hard. We're all in different places. We don't live in the same town, but once we do get together, it's pretty effortless. You know, it just kicks in. And like I said before, we know how to do the Mommyhead music better than anyone. So once we start doing it, we're like, oh, that thing. Okay. So yeah, the obstacles, you forget about them.
Which song do you think took you or your band the longest with its writing process? Because I know like song differs a lot when it comes to creation of the melody, everything. So just tell us a little bit about like the process, like which song took a really long time to write.
You know, it's interesting because now that everyone has a garage band, they do sort of have, you know, the ability to make the next Sgt. Pepper's or the next Beyonce record, but you know, it's still a magical thing to make a great record. And of course we think it's great. Every band thinks their record's great, duh, you know, but I think it's there's some moments on the record where it was like your head scratcher. Like I did the longest solo I've ever done. It went on for what felt like hours, but it's actually probably a minute-long guitar solo. I think when I started playing guitar, I made a conscious decision. I never want to do long, searing guitar solo because I was in the 80s and everyone did one. But it was just sort of a challenge, and I tried to meet it. And then everyone got involved, and they're like, change this note or change that part or go up higher, go up low. And it became this communal thing of my guitar solo, and I welcomed it. And all of a sudden, we had this massive guitar solo. It's on a song called Ugly Things. And it just goes on forever, and then it ends. And that was kind of an interesting road to go down and challenging, but fun. And we also did a lot of sort of Queen vocals on the album, you know, stacked, you know, and that was challenging. And obviously they were the best at it, so we were just paying homage. But that was definitely cool and fun, and it's always fun. I wouldn't say a challenge.
Cool. I know you and your band worked with Peter Cadis, the producer. Could you tell us how it was working with Peter Cadis?
Peter, so we were on our we had just finished our third record, Flying Suit, and we played New York, and we played the Knitting Factory, another really kind of cool, famous club. And Peter was in the audience with his brother and a good friend, Dave, his brother Tarkin. And they saw us, and it was actually a packed crowd. And this was like 95, 94, 95. And they thought, oh, wow, this band's going to be huge, you know. They're just going, you know, they're unstoppable, because it was a packed crowd, which was, you know, not every show. And he was like, wow, if you ever want to make a record, I'd love to make a record. And it was like, we were like, sure. And then when we started hanging out, he realized, no, we're not. We're just another band. Like, that was just a one-off packed crowd. So what we actually found out is we struck gold with Peter, because he also had a label. He had an attention span that was incredible. He could just work 24/7. So he was like a workhorse and the nicest guy. And we worked in his basement in Connecticut. We did the album. It took us 2 weeks, Bingham's Hole. And he just did such a great job. And the album really clicked. And that's the album that got us signed to Geffen, because it was really was sort of it was like an amalgam of what made us good at the time as a live band. And he captured it. And that was really his first production. And he went on right after that to do a ton of great productions. And you got to hand it to the guy. He's ultra focused. He's always known what he wants to do. He's got a great temperament. He's egoless. He can sit in a room with a band that's fighting and then kind of calm them down, which is, being a producer is not just saying you're a producer. A lot of it's psychological. And if you can manhandle creatives psychologically without them knowing it, like ninja mental stuff, then you could be a producer. And obviously you know what you like musically. So if you can, and then you could learn how to work equipment. But the thing that he has naturally is to just settle the room and get the best out of people. And that was 95 we did that. And he went out to do the National, Interpol, Frightened Rabbit, a lot of great bands, and Sting, you know. So we learned a lot from him, and he was our age, but you can always learn from people your age.
So when it comes to your music, what's a typical day for you like?
Well, I've gotten into commercial music, so that's how I survived since 2000, when I got dropped from RCA as a solo artist. I went back to New York, and New York's the hub of advertising, so I got into writing jingles and commercial music, and sometimes movie stuff, but rare. And I've literally been doing that since 2001. 19 years of that to pay for my exorbitant hobby as a mommyhead. So what does that mean? I go in the studio, I'll record guitar, bass, something on a spot, and make phone calls, and, you know, run my business, and then at night write songs for the Mommyheads.
When it comes to writing music, how do you and your band decide what to write about?
Well, we used to write a little more together in the 90s, because we'd play live and we jam and woodshed, as they say. But now it's so hard to get together that I'll write a bunch of songs. The keyboardist Michael will write some songs. We will all play them and see what gels, and what comes from that will end up on the record. It's kind of real simple, and whatever the band likes, and whatever seems current and has a theme that sort of works together, whether the theme is musical or lyrical.
What do you guys normally do when you guys don't agree with each other? Like, how do you guys get back up together to agree on the same page?
We try to support each other. It's like it's a family. However a family functions, that's us.
For artists who are just starting out, what advice would you give them as they're starting out their music?
Well, I think the glitz and glory is gone. And I think that when you see it in YouTube and someone's got bling bling, or they got the big house or whatever glitz and glory is, it's all smoke and mirrors. Back in the day, there was money in the arts, especially music. And there's still money in it. It's just in weird, obtuse ways. And it's not what you think. It used to be very simple. You sell records, you make money. So if you want to do music in some form, whether you want to go into management, business side of it, a musician, production, engineering, radio, publishing, commercial music, TV, movies, whatever you want to do, if you love music and you have to be in it, you just have to have a lot of patience. You got to know how to deal with people. It's all people, person to person business. And if you're talented, that helps. But if you have to do it, then just keep your manage your expectations, keep them really low.
Absolutely, absolutely. So throughout the years of being with the Mommyheads and creating music and working with your band and becoming a whole family, what did you learn from your band members?
I think again, we're a family, so I think I learned to enjoy music through them. I learned that I've learned that being in a band, the specialness of it. Like, I tried to go solo once and I didn't like it, and I came back with my tail between my legs because I had no one to sort of fight with, or agree with, or celebrate with, or fail with. And so the biggest lesson for me is just by being around them.
So before we go, are you currently working on a new material, Adam?
Yes, our pandemic promise to ourselves and the world, and to keep ourselves sane and happy during this pandemic, is to have a new record every year, which the idea was already there, and now we're even more into it because there's nothing else to do. And send it out to people like you, send it out to radio, all the good people, and send it to press and see who likes it. And, this current record is 65 on College. I don't know if we've ever done better than that. Even our major label record never made it that far. So somehow now that we're like 49, 50-year-old guys, College is picking up. But, things skip a generation. And I think 18 to 21-year-olds know our stuff probably better than we do. And we just might know how to do it a little better because we've been around a little longer. But hey, that's cool. Like, I'm down, like if it's picking up at College and they're digging it, I'm down for the count. I'm ready to do more,
So one last thing, what's the best way for our listeners to find you and your music?
For reals, our website and Bandcamp. Bandcamp is great because you get a downloadable folder with high quality files of the music, the lyrics, and the cover. And it's not, like Spotify doesn't sound that good. Neither does iTunes, MP3s. These are AIFs. These are high quality. And you pay what you wish. So you could pay a penny or you could pay $10. And we get a big chunk of it. And ironically, it's been fueling us, the money from that, to do the next record. So it's actually been okay, the money from that, to support a lot of our endeavors. So the best way is Bandcamp. Spotify if you're in the kitchen and you have Alexa, or you're in the car and there's no CD player, but it sounds better, and you actually own the files. So like when these file sharing programs go defunct in a couple of years, you'll own nothing. So here you can have it on your laptop. So I think that's the best way for us. And, on our Facebook, Mommyheads, Facebook or whatever, Twitter.
Thanks to Adam Elk for sitting down with us and talking all about his music. If you want to see more interviews just like this, you can go to facebook.com/Studio67NCC, youtube.com/NashcomCollege, or you can find us on Instagram at Studio67NCC. Thank you all for watching. I'm Nouran Shaban, and remember to stay positive.